Welcome back to Danny's Maths Hub, and today we're going to still be looking at distances, but this time we're going to look at how we can convert in between them. But before we begin, please remember to hit that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube. It's a massive way to help out the channel, and all you simply need to do is click a button, and that tells me you're enjoying the videos and you're actually learning something. But let's get back to today's lesson. We're going to look at how we can convert between millimeters, centimeters, meters, and kilometers. Now, to do that, we have to know exactly how much is in each section. And what do I mean by that? Well, if we look at 1 centimeter, we need to know how many millimeters fit into 1 centimeter. Well, if you look at your 30 centimeter ruler or even your 15 centimeter ruler, there should be several dashes in between the 0 and the 1 centimeter. Well, they're millimeters, and if you count them up, you'll see there is actually 10 millimeters in a centimeter. Now, if we then move on to the meter stick, we can count how many centimeters are in a meter. And you'd find there is 100 centimeters in 1 meter. And then the word kilometer, kilo, comes from the Greek word 1,000. So kilometer actually translates into 1,000 meters. That's because there is 1,000 meters in a kilometer. Now, these reference points are going to be important for when we convert between distances. So to be able to convert between a distance, we need a distance. So let's start off by collecting a distance of centimeters. I'm going to start here, and I'm going to jump forward, maybe not as far as I can, because I think I might clear the meter point, but I'm going to try and jump a little bit shorter than a meter. So let's jump from here to here. So from here to here, it looks like I've jumped about, let's say, 93 centimeters. So I now have a distance. Remember, a distance was from a point to another point, and I've jumped from here to here, 93 centimeters. So I have a distance. So how do I convert from centimeters into these other distances? Well, first things first, let's go back and take our centimeters and let's convert them to millimeters. We have 93 centimeters. But we know if we have just 1 centimeter, that's worth 10 millimeters. So what did we have to times our 1 centimeter by, to get millimeters? Well, we times it by 10. And that's actually the only calculation you have to do when converting between centimeters and millimeters. We times it by 10 because 1 centimeter is 10 millimeters. So 93 centimeters would be 930 millimeters. Because again, 1 centimeter is 10 millimeters. But what about if I wanted to go up the scale? What if I wanted to measure it in meters? Well, let's have a look. There is 100 centimeters in a meter. So we're going to go from 100 centimeters to 1. What calculation did we do? Well, 100 divided by 100 is 1. So that's what we need to do to our answer. If we've got 93 centimeters, let's get from centimeters to meters, we divide by 100. 93 divided by 100 is 0.93. So I jumped 0.93 meters. So do you see, as our actual units get smaller, as in a millimeter is smaller than a centimeter, we multiply. But as our units got bigger, because a meter is greater than a centimeter, we divided by. And that's going to be the same throughout. So let's go get another distance. I'm going to start running here at 100 meters. I'm going to run all the way down to the 200 meter mark and come back. So I should cover 200 meters. So let me go collect that distance for us. And there we go, I've just done another distance. From this point to that point and back again to this point was 200 meters. Now, if you're wondering why I look a little bit knackered and most probably a little bit red, it is currently 40 degrees here in Bahrain. So even though it was only a 200 meter run, it's still pretty hot to be doing it in. Anyway, 200 meters. Now let's convert that. Let's take my 200 meters and let's convert it into centimeters now. Now, if we have 1 meter, how many centimeters did we have? We had 100. So that's our key number here. And we're going from meters down to a smaller measurement, which means we multiply. Okay? It seems sort of like the opposite. Usually to make things bigger, we tend to multiply, unless obviously it's a number smaller than 1. So here to go from meters down to centimeters, we're going to multiply it by 100. So I just ran 200 meters, but to convert that into centimeters, I'm going to times it by 100, which gives me 20,000 centimeters. So I just ran 20,000 centimeters. Now that sounds like a lot, doesn't it? But it's not, it's still only those 200 meters. And this is when I was saying how important it is to use the correct units. Because it could be quite misleading if I told everyone I went out and did 20,000 centimeters. Now what happens if I wanted to go from meters though, all the way down to millimeters? Well, there's 2 ways you could do it. We just went from meters to centimeters, and then we could just take our centimeter answer and now times it by 10 again to get from centimeters to millimeters, which would give us 200,000 millimeters. Or what we could do, we could see actually to get from meters to centimeters, we times by 100. So, and then to get to millimeters, we times by 10. Well, what's 100 times 10? 1,000. So we could have just multiplied straight away by 1,000. Both ways are perfectly acceptable, and either way you work them out is fine. I like to convert it to centimeters, then millimeters, because then I can see the clear steps I'm taking. So I times by 100, then times by 10. What happens though if I want to turn my 200-meter run here into kilometers? Well, we're now going from meters to kilometers, so we're going up a unit, up a size, which means we divide. How many meters did we say was in a kilometer? 1,000. So I need to divide by 1,000. Well, 200 divided by 1,000 is 0.2. I've just ran 0.2 kilometers. Now let's go get one more distance. Let's go get a nice big distance. This time I'm going to use my bike. You've all seen how pretty poor my running is and how long it'll most take me to cover a couple of kilometers. So I brought my bike out with me. So today I can go get those kilometers, bring back a distance, and then we can convert that distance into centimeters and millimeters. Now this is a 500-meter track, which we can work out to be, divided by 1,000, is a half a kilometer, 0.5 kilometers. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to cycle that way past the camera, all the way down to the bottom of the Navy base, and come back, and then I'll show you what I've recorded on my Strava app. So bear with, I'll be back sooner than you think, hopefully. So, if I stop my Strava app now, I've just rode 2.7 kilometers. So we just put the bike back. So 2.7 kilometers then. How could I convert that into meters, centimeters, and then even millimeters if I wished? Well, we're going from kilometers to meters. There is 1,000 meters in a kilometer, which means I need to multiply by 1,000, which means I just rode 2,700. What about if I now want to turn it into centimeters? Well, to go from meters to centimeters, we times by 100. So I'm at 2,700. Times that by 100, I'm at 270,000 centimeters. But then if I wanted to go even further and turn it into millimeters, I'd have to times it by 10 again. So I'm at 2,700,000 millimeters. Now, do you see how we're continuously going between these units? We are finding out how much is in each unit, how many centimeters were in a meter, how many meters were in a kilometer, how many millimeters were in a centimeter. And that number is important. If we're going down our scale, so we're going from kilometers to meters to centimeters to millimeters, if our units are getting smaller, then we're multiplying. But if our general unit is getting bigger, so millimeters to centimeters to meters to kilometers, then we're dividing by that number. And the numbers aren't too difficult. 10 millimeters in a centimeter, 100 centimeters in a meter, 1,000 meters in a kilometer. They're going up by a power of 10 every time. Unfortunately, we don't tend to get this information in our GCSE, so this is something you have to remember, something you have to practice. But if we look at these other system, the imperial system, okay, of feet, inches, yards, and miles, we are actually given this in the exam because they're quite difficult numbers to work with. They're not nice like our metric system. We can see if we have inches, there are 12 inches in a foot. If we look at how many feet are in a yard, there's 3 feet in a yard. And if we look at how many yards there are in a mile, there is 1,760 yards in a mile. Now, our actual way of converting doesn't change. If there is 12 inches in a foot, well, to go between inches and foot, we multiply or divide by 12. There are 3 feet in a yard, we multiply and divide by 3. And again, between yards and miles, there's 1,760. Let's go between the two, we multiply and divide by 1,760. However, all this information is given to you in the exam if a question like this comes up, and you don't have to remember that. But with our metric system, okay, you do have to remember that. And it goes millimeters to centimeters 10, centimeters to meters 100, and meters to kilometers 1,000. Now, I do hope you found today's lesson interesting. Hope you understand what distance is. Remember, my distances were from one point to another, okay? And then we converted them between millimeters, centimeters, meters, and kilometers. I have attached a worksheet below for you to practice your conversions yourselves. I'd also encourage you to go out and collect your own distances and try converting your own distances. It's always good to get out and stay active. That's all for me today. I do hope you've enjoyed today's lesson. And next lesson, we're going to be looking at time, how we measure time, and how we can convert time between seconds, minutes, and hours, and also how can we represent time as a decimal, because hopefully most of you know time isn't nice and simple and just out of 100. Hope you stay safe, have a great day, and see you in the next lesson.